Hey there, everybody. Welcome. We're going to get started in maybe 1 or 2 minutes here. We have about a third of the folks who registered. This might be the group, but I want to give others time to get here from other meetings. Yeah, I see some more folks coming on in. Um, but welcome to the Bevy Refresh training for chapter leads for Culture First Community. I'm Morgan England. I work really close with Jesse Jacob. I'm over at Bevy. And I'll be leading today's session. We probably won't need the full hour, so we're going to give people just another minute or two to come on in. If you want to go ahead in the chat and if you're able to share who you are, which chapter you are a lead or a co-lead for, and we'll get started in just a moment. Thanks, y'all. All right, y'all, welcome. It's great to see everyone in here. And I know we have a lot of different time zones in here. We want to be respectful of y'all's time. Folks continue to filter in, but we're recording as well. I want to go ahead and get rolling so you can get all the good knowledge, ask some questions, and then move on with what else you have for this day or your evening coming up soon. To reintroduce myself, my name is Morgan England. I head up customer success over at Bevy, which is the platform we're holding this event on right now and that you all run your chapter lead events program on. I've had the pleasure of working really closely with Jesse for 2+ years now. She's not going to be able to join us today. She's fairly under the weather. We were just texting a moment ago, so let's all send her good vibes, good healing energy, so she can be better before the holidays and end of year. But it's really good to be with y'all. This is incredibly casual, so please feel welcome to continue to engage in the chat. I absolutely love that. I'm going to open up Q&A right now, actually. So to kind of orient y'all, if you haven't been in this space before, we do have the chat where you guys can engage. It's where you've been introducing yourselves. You see you can reply to each other there. I see a lot of folks are noticing the emoji reactions. Love to see it. And then along the bottom, you'll also notice a Q&A. In there, if you have questions specifically for me at any point during this event or this training, please feel welcome to pop them into the Q&A tab. And you guys can actually upvote each other's questions. So hit the little thumbs up next to a question once it's been asked to indicate that that's a question you also have. This training definitely will not be an hour long. It's really big, really substantial. It's a really good change and offering that I think we're making for you in how you put events together. Hopefully it's making your workflow a lot faster and easier so you can get in, get the event in there quickly, get out and actually hold the event and be connecting with people virtually or in person, which is, the part I know y'all have signed up for and really love to do. So that training should be short. So we should have a good bit of time today. If anybody wants to hang around, I have the full hour. So if you have questions about what I'm talking about or anything else Bevy related that's been on your mind, I'm happy to knock those out before the end of the year here. So let's go ahead. Let's see here. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get rolling. I'm going to share my screen here. I think today we'll do the window. Going to give it a second to come up. All right. So welcome. Hopefully this is a fairly familiar space to all of you already. We are on the back end of the Culture First chapter program on Bevy. So we're in a chapter dashboard. And actually, I'll go ahead and pop, just in case we have anyone who's a little bit newer. I believe you all are pretty familiar with this space, but I'll go ahead and pop this into the chat. You all should have permissions to follow along with pretty much everything that I'm doing, at least for the training portion of this. For anyone who's a little bit newer, the way you're going to do that is when you land on this page, if you are logged in, you should see a black bar up top with dashboard. And when you hit that, it will bring you directly to what we call the chapter dashboard for the chapter that you run. Your view may look slightly different from time to time from mine. For example, you probably won't see this admin dashboard link down here. But for the most part, this is probably where a lot of you have been really familiar with running your events on Bevy. You see the name of your city. I see Salt Lake City in the chat, Geneva. So you guys may be seeing that name in the top left. And where you're probably doing the bulk of your work is in this space here, right? Whenever you need to create an event, you're heading to new event, this button in the top right corner. The really exciting thing that I'm going over with you all today, you could probably guess it based on the little switcher that we have up here, is the brand new chapter dashboard we've built on Bevy. We've spent a lot of our recent sprints focusing on the organizer or chapter leader persona. That's y'all. You guys are really the ones that keep the community going. You guys do incredible work, especially in your community. And we've spent a lot of time talking with organizers, kind of observing product usage. And what we realized is, one, this space looks really outdated and feels really outdated. I feel it too when I'm in here. I feel like I'm in 1996. We have a lot of unused space, so missed opportunities, right? Like even right here, when you land here, it's like, okay, this could be doing more for me, right? But most importantly, what we found is it's very clunky and takes a lot of time for organizers to create a new event in Bevy. So when you're going through, a lot of you are probably familiar with this view, right? We're asking a lot of things. You have to make a description twice. There's just like a lot of different settings, a lot of nuances, things you have to keep in mind, things that could easily be misclicked. For example, in this community, probably not anyone in this room, but if it is, it's fine. I've done it too. Accidentally saying an event is in person when it's virtual or vice versa. And you have these 4 steps to go through before you can even just spin up a basic event page. We want to make this a lot easier for you. We've also heard from organizers that oftentimes, they're in this role because they love events, they love event planning, or maybe they love gathering or facilitating face-to-face. They don't necessarily love copywriting. So that's a piece we're trying to help y'all with too. So without further ado, we're going to check out the new chapter dashboard. This is the first time in Bevy's history that we soup to nuts, as they say, completely rebuilt this entire experience for you. So let's click here. Drum roll, drum roll. All right. And this is what it's going to look like for you all. If you happen to be a chapter lead or on the chapter team for more than one chapter, there's a couple of you out there. For the most part, I think most of y'all are just handling one chapter. But if you have more than one, you'll see this other switcher, I guess, up here, which is an easy way to go ahead and see all of the chapters that you have access to. And it gives you some quick, nice stats. There's no equivalent for this in the legacy dashboard, right? So like a quick eyeball of how many members, if there are any upcoming events in that chapter, et cetera. But for those of you who are leading one chapter, you're going to land on your chapter home. There, again, is not an equivalent home space or home UI in the legacy dashboard. So this piece is really nice here. I'm in a test chapter right now that we have, Central City. So it's a little bit more sparse than yours will be when you navigate to the same space. You're going to see a lot more, including any upcoming events you have. And this is actually the first big thing I really want to talk about here. We have AI Copilot threaded throughout this experience to help you with your chapter lead role and with creating events and emails. If you are somebody who does not want to use AI, you don't want to touch the Copilot, you feel super confident in what you're doing and you don't need its help, more power to you. Up until a couple months ago, I was staunchly in that camp. Whenever I was interacting with a tool, I didn't really want to touch AI. Here in Bevy, this is a very light touch AI, I would say. And it's really just intended to be here to help you, especially if it's the end of your workday, your brain is fried, you want to spin up your next chapter event, and you just want a little bit of brainstorming help, either with what your event could be or with copywriting if you do know what your event is. So where you're going to see AI in this space, anywhere that you're seeing, for those who can see a full color spectrum, you'll notice that this is various colors in kind of an ombre around this frame. For those who can't, it's a thicker border. And there's always going to be a little tab here that says AI suggested. So anywhere that AI is suggesting content for you, or that it is a prompt box, and you'll see the prompt box in a moment, where AI is incorporated in that part of the tool, you're going to see this darker border. And once we create an event, you'll see the difference between your real events, your upcoming events, and how those look versus an AI suggested one. Okay. Right now, because we're in a test chapter, there is not an event. We're going to create one together right now. But you can see here, it is suggesting this event. Now, why is it suggesting learning to lead with vulnerability? The AI tool, it is an enterprise, Bevy specific tool that our engineers created. It uses a lot of different AI dev tools. OpenAI is one of them. It's also built on some other things. These are all enterprise versions of those. So anything that you interact with here or that is being fed, for lack of a better term, to the Bevy AI Copilot is staying within the Culture Amp or Culture First instance of Bevy. It's not going externally. It's not going back to OpenAI or anybody else. And it is only making suggestions based on activity that has happened in this community. So it's not, taking learnings from other communities or Bevy customers or anything like that. I think is very important to say. One of the big things it's pulling from is your chapter description. So I'll show you here really quickly what this looks like, and then we'll look at the chapter description. I have a little bit of homework suggestion, not requirement, for you after this. So you can see it has a couple different suggestions here. Learning to lead with vulnerability could be a nice topic. Fostering culture of belonging acceptance, absolutely. Talking about how to make one-on-ones more effective, et cetera, right? Navigating the future. We are navigating the future today. We are talking about AI in the workplace right now. So this is kind of intended as a brainstorming. Again, you guys have your minimum number of events you're expected to hold per year. I believe it's one per quarter. If you're really struggling, you want to do something different from what you've been doing. Jesse, of course, has wonderful slide decks and workshops and suggestions for events already. And if you're wanting to change it up or brainstorm a little, this can be helpful for doing that. Before we get into creating an event, I know I mentioned one of the main things this is pulling from is your chapter description. It's also pulling or being informed by past events you've held. If you want to take a look at your chapter description at some point, you can head to settings here in the bottom left for your chapter. And this is the description I'm talking about. It lives on your chapter page. It explains what your chapter is. Jesse has loaded something in for each of you. It's possible you've maybe already added to it, or maybe you've never touched this before. But she is encouraging you guys, if you want to look at this, especially now that it's playing a larger role, with the AI Copilot, if you feel like you want to customize it a little bit, build it out, make it more specific to your city or your topic, you can add content to what's already there. Please feel welcome to do so. And that's just going to enrich the AI Copilot throughout this space. All right. Unsaved data. Yes, we're all good. Okay, but let's head here. Let's pretend, we're coming in. We have a good idea of the type of event we want to hold. So we're not going to create from one of these AI suggested ones. If we wanted to, we would hit create here. But today I kind of know what I want to do. So I'm going to hit new event. You've seen this before, chapter event. And let's come over here. All right. So once again, and this is probably a better example of the AI Copilot interface or UI that you're going to see. You see either this colorful or for some folks, a really thick border with AI beta on it. This is a prompt box. So again, this is something I use a lot and I'm going to use today in the interest of time. If you kind of know what you want to do for your event, but you don't want to spend 10 or 20 minutes crafting the description, trying to make it sound fun and engaging and trying to get people to come to that event by making this sound interesting. I hear you, and I'm the same way. So I'm going to tell it that I'm hosting an event that I know Jesse does in Kansas City sometimes. So Friday, Friday working alongside each other in community at a local coffee shop filled with lush plants and great music, which I know is something Kansas City does sometimes. So this is generally my event. Honestly, I'm brain dead. I'm not going to write out the whole paragraph right now. So AI Copilot, give me a draft. Let's see. Cute. I guarantee I would not have come up with this. Okay, so Co-working Friday, Plant and Sip Edition. That pretty much describes Jesse's, Friday Kansas City events. This is so cute. I'll tell you what, the name of the cafe is not Green Brew. It's actually, I live in New Orleans, by the way. I hadn't mentioned that to y'all. And there's a great coffee shop about a block away called Trumpet and Drum. Let's pretend that's where it's happening. So you see here, it has given me a nice draft, but I can go ahead and edit as needed to make it more particular to my event. And you also can tell the AI to iterate a little bit. So let's say we want it to be shorter. I want to make sure people are going to read it. Tell it that. Cool, that's shorter. And you know what? Make it a little more informal. Cute. Sometimes when you hit informal, it adds emojis, which I kind of love to see what emojis it suggests. You can make it more informal, more formal, shorter, longer, or you can just ask it to regenerate. Ditto for this, informal, formal, shorter, longer, or regenerate. Let's hit regenerate, see what happens. Green vibes gathering. All right. So let's say this is what we're going with. Yeah, it does a really great job. And actually some other cool things. I'm gonna ask it to write it in Spanish for me. Now what's cool with the translations is this is a little bit more sophisticated than just throwing like a Google Translate on it, which is an incredible tool, but this is AI assisted translation. So it's a little bit more in depth. So this is a nice option for you. If you're somebody who English is not your first language, or you're more comfortable writing the prompt in a non-English language, you can do that. I'm not going to embarrass myself by trying to do that right now on camera. But if you wrote this in your own language that you're more comfortable with, and then you told it, write it in English, it would go ahead and do the English translation for you. Let's say, for example, I wrote my prompt in Spanish. The one thing I want to call out is if this prompt was written in Spanish, I still encourage you, if you want the outcome to be in Spanish or in Tagalog or whatever the language is, French, German, always kind of add, like tell it, just kind of, I've noticed for the AI Copilot, it wants the confirmation. If you want it to be in a non-English language, go ahead and like confirm that for it. I'm going to change this back to English just so I'm a little... I do speak some other languages, but it's been a minute, so we're not going to test that at this time of day. Love it. Okay, coming on down. As I mentioned, the AI Copilot is obviously a big new piece of this. Hopefully it's really fun for you guys. It helps you kind of jazz things up a little bit. But again, the big idea is saving you time and energy. So we've taken longer on this because I've been talking about it, but usually that would be pretty quick to spin up. You can iterate as needed. Rich text editing, you've had that in Legacy Bevy before, but it was always kind of hidden. It was hard to find. So it's the same tools. We've just brought it to the front and it's a little bit more obvious for you. So let's say we wanted to link out to the coffee shop's website or something. You could go ahead and, of course, hyperlink, paste that there. You can drop images in text. You can have a little bit better formatting. That's great, especially if you have a longer description. I really encourage using, the bullet or numbered lists, breaking it up, making it a little bit more readable for folks. Coming on down here, we've had a time zone picker for a long time. This one is just a little bit more user-friendly. The search works a little bit more intuitively, you'll notice. Here with the start and end time, in Legacy Bevy, if I changed, and sometimes I test this and honestly, user error, I do it wrong, so let's see. No, that worked great. In Legacy Bevy, some of you may have noticed, it really annoyed me to be totally transparent. When you would change the start time, it wouldn't change the end time, which was kind of annoying. Here it recognizes, okay, this is an hour-long meeting. You're changing the time to 12. See, now it didn't. There we go. Sometimes I mess it up. It's user error, but play around with it. You'll see it went from 1 to 2. If this is actually, it's a co-working, it's going to be all afternoon. So after lunch, you can come on by And we're going to do this until, let's say, 4 p.m. that day. You can do that. Down here, event location, you still have your options for virtual, in-person, and hybrid. This is obviously an in-person event, so I'm going to switch it over. This is one place where we actually added some friction. Again, people accidentally switching between virtual and in-person and needing to change it later, and it was kind of difficult. This just confirms, yes, I definitely want to change it to in-person. You can go ahead and search a place, trumpet and drum right there. You can go ahead if you need to add information or edit it all. This is a Google Maps integration, so you could display a map of this location on your event page, which is really nice for folks. Let's say I want to go back to virtual. You have still your same options of Bevy Virtual or an external URL. Jesse definitely prefers you use Bevy Virtual. That's the space we're actually in right now, for a lot of different reasons. One of the big ones, a lot of them are functionality-wise. She really loves that chat and Q&A are broken out for you all. You can have a little bit more engagement in the chat, which is really nice. You don't have to use your own company like Zoom license or a Culture Amp ones. You don't have any limitations on number of people in the event, how long the event can be. One of these events can hold up to 5,000 people, which is amazing, or 1,000 people with their video on. But the reason she really likes it is she then gets a lot of analytics on what happened inside the event. So how long did people stay in your virtual event? Did they all drop off, at the 20-minute mark? If so, let's look at the programming and see what happened at 20 minutes in and maybe iterate. So your programs can always get better. But it also gives her some really good engagement metrics she can use to report to her leadership, to, continue getting great resources for your programs, or even, argue or negotiate for increased resources for your programs at the end of the year, which is certainly the goal. So using Bevy Virtual just gives you guys a little bit more leverage to keep the programs going strong and even grow them in the future. You have various options here. These are the same ones in Legacy Bevy. So these will auto record. If it's a sensitive event that should not be recorded, you can uncheck this, but otherwise auto record is default selected. Private Q&A, again, if you're discussing a more sensitive topic, we have a really great community, Digital Parenthood by Aura, that uses Bevy, and they work with parents to help their children and teenagers navigate technology, the internet, etc. And it's kind of a safe space for parents to be able to ask questions and not feel embarrassed. And they've noticed that if they use private Q&A, their attendees in a virtual event are more likely to ask questions because the whole group won't see the question, right? Only the presenter will see the question, so it stays more anonymous. Your community, I can think of some use cases, some events you might hold where this would make sense sometimes. But otherwise, if you don't select it, Q&A will look the same way it does right now. Disable chat completely. That's very rare, probably won't happen for your group, but you have the option. And then interactive mode. If we click this, that means everyone has the option to come on camera. We see each other in more of a grid fashion, like a traditional Zoom meeting. If you have this unselected, like Jesse did for this event today, it's more webinar style. So just the presenters, like what you're seeing now, are on video. Everyone else can engage in the chat and Q&A. So anyways, same settings, options you have in your dashboard, in the Legacy dashboard now, but just in case anyone wasn't as familiar with those, Jesse did want me to go over them. And then finally, the look feel of your event. Jesse's already loaded in a chapter banner and chapter thumbnail. If you want to change them, you can upload them here. I know you have resources she provides to you all to go ahead and make your own if you would like, so you can upload those here. And then your RSVPs. It's default set to 1,000 for a virtual event. You can go ahead and edit this to whatever you would like. So you could say, register here for co-working coffee. Wow. Typing on a screen share might be my nightmare. Let's go ahead and do that. Put whatever you want here. And then how many folks can you accommodate? So let's say this event could accommodate 50. Under advanced settings, you do have some options. Availability, you probably don't have to worry about. That's more for large conferences that have many ticket types, an early bird and VIP and all of that. It could make sense to enable a wait list. If any of you ever host events that are in person with a limited capacity because of the room you're going to be using, it's a good idea to open your advanced settings and hit wait list, because that way when your event sells out, when you get it's at capacity, the next person who comes to your event page, you can still capture their information and their interest. which is really nice because if you see, oh my gosh, 20 people were on my wait list, there was high demand for this event. What a great problem to have, right? But that probably does happen for some of y'all's events. This gives you good information. Next time I want a bigger room, or maybe I should host this event again, etc. So that's a nice way to capture, let people insert their name and email and indicate they were still interested in the event. I'm going to go ahead and save. If you're making a test event, actually this is a test event right now, so I should do this. Test event is available not just in test chapters, but also in your own chapters. So this is a nice way to play around, especially with this new feature. If you want to play with the AI, but you don't want it to impact Jesse's data and analytics, and you don't want your chapter members to see it and get spammed, click test and hide and go ahead and have fun and play away. For a real event, you would want to unhide. Today, I'm not going to do that. And that's all you got to do. Again, I know it took us a solid 20 minutes. I've been talking a lot. I tend to do that. When you all get in here, once you get used to where things are and you've played with it once or twice, I'm seeing organizers spin events up in maybe 3 minutes when it used to take them closer to 15 or 20 regularly. That's all you need to do to create an event page and start getting registrations. You could go ahead and publish from here. Now, if this is an event where you have more advanced settings you need to fill in, like speakers, you could go ahead and hit Save Draft. And then those additional options you see now display at the top. They weren't up here in the beginning because, again, we want to make it really clear you don't need to go through every one of these steps just to create your event page. And some people, thanks, Anne-Marie. Yes, hate typing live. Some people like to get their event page up right away so they can start marketing the event, but maybe they don't know who the speaker is going to be yet. And that's okay. Like, you don't need the speaker to be in there to publish your event. Publish your event, start getting your registrations when you know who your speaker is. You can go ahead and pop them in here. So either save draft or publish will make these advanced settings come up. Let's look at one right now. People, you have very similar functionality, but there is one cool addition that I'm guessing you guys are going to really enjoy. Add speakers. I can search for somebody here. So let's say Jesse, is going to be speaking at the coffee shop. It's good practice to search for the person and see if a speaker profile has already been created for them in Culturant Bevy. You could see folks have created Jesse a few times. This is kind of what we want to avoid. We don't want duplicates, right? So I encourage you guys to type that in, see what comes up. Let's see if I come up. I don't. Okay, and that's totally fine. Not offended. What we can do is we can create me as a new speaker right now. And this is actually what I wanted to show you all. So you put in my first name, last name, title, company. This is the cool new addition. In addition to putting in their X account, if you want to, we have some customers who used to use that very heavily. So that's there. Their company.com. So for me, this would be bevy.com. You can now put in their LinkedIn profile. That's a huge new addition. This has probably been my number one ask. That way your attendees can easily find your speaker, facilitator, host on LinkedIn, maybe connect with them, continue the networking afterwards. So really cool little feature here. You're only going to see the LinkedIn field, by the way, when you're creating an event in the new dashboard. We are going to remove or deprecate the legacy dashboard in 2025. We have a few months, but we will be deprecating it. So we're not adding any new things or doing new development on the old one. Anything new we roll out from here on out is just going to be rolled out on the new one. Like this LinkedIn thing is a good example. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cancel. Rock and roll. Okay, I'm feeling pretty good about this. My event is good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and hit publish. Very cool. And then to very briefly go through these tabs. So your overview, you can just see a quick snippet for your event. This is new. There is not an equivalent for this in Legacy Bevy. I love it because I can quickly see if anyone has registered. I can manually add people like I could before. I see which automated emails are set to go out for this event. So it's a nice snapshot of like what's coming next, what's scheduled automatically. And if I want to cancel one of these or reschedule them, I can click here and go ahead and take care of that there. Let's go back to our overview. Quick snippet of registrations and check-ins, which is really nice. As a reminder too, if you use Bevy Virtual instead of like a Zoom for your virtual events, it automatically tracks who shows up, who checks in. You don't need to keep track of that, which is really nice and a big thing that Jesse's wanting to really tighten up in 2025, getting really accurate check-in and registration counts without as much manual reliance on you all. So Bevy Virtual is a nice way to do that. Details, if you need to edit your event, we're back in our familiar space with our old AI Copilot friend. People, those are your speakers. Registrations, this is attendees in Old Bevy. We renamed a lot of these to be more intuitive. This is where you're going to see your registrations. You can download a CSV. Waitlist, if you had a waitlist, you would see who's on it here. Surveys, Old Bevy, for those folks who are really familiar, this was forms. Surveys is a more appropriate term, so we've renamed it. Pre-order, these are the questions being asked when someone registers just for this event. You can always edit, so you can add additional questions just for this event if you wanted to. For example, like let's say we wanted to do a short answer, and my question is t-shirt size. That'd be so cool if we're giving out t-shirts, right? And it can be required or not. You won't see locked. That's something I have because I'm an admin, but required, etc. And the person would be able to answer with a short answer. This is a fun one to play around with on a test event if you find yourself with a few extra minutes. Emails, which emails are scheduled to go out for my event. Co-hosting. Actually, I know there was a question in the co-hosting. I'm going to pop over to Q&A so we can start tackling some of those. But you're going to, if you want your event to be eligible for other chapters to help market it, you could opt into that by making this a co-hosted event. For those who aren't as familiar, I know a lot of you use this, but those who may not be familiar, allowing other chapters to collaborate. That doesn't mean other chapter leads can manage or edit your event. You still are the one who is controlling the event. All this means is if I click make this a co-hosted event, and then Denver comes in and sees this as an option, or maybe I've Slacked them or messaged them and I'm like, hey, if you want to co-host my event, here's the event link. They can opt in to co-host the event. And that means my event will now be emailed out to their chapter members as well. Their chapter members will also get an invitation to the event my chapter is hosting. Okay, so it's expanding the reach of this event. My event will also show on their chapter page in addition to my own. So again, it's just increasing marketing on this event is co-hosting. For those who may not be familiar, you tackle that right here. If you host your event on Bevy Virtual, your recordings will pop here after, and actually some other cool things too. AI is in this space as well. So you will get a really good AI assisted transcription of everything that was said in the event, which can be really useful for you later on if you're wanting to report out or share with folks who couldn't attend. And you'll also get a 2 or 3 sentence AI generated summary of what happened at the event. Again, really nice for maybe sharing with your chapter members afterwards in a newsletter. And then some analytics on the event. You'll see some basic metrics. We won't see that on this test event here. All right, so I've talked a lot. Every one of these spaces in your chapter dashboard is redone and just looks a lot fresher, which is really nice. Analytics, my internet may take a while to load it. And we're a test chapter, so we're gonna see a lot of goose eggs, a lot of zeros here. But you're still gonna get that nice snapshot in the last 90 days or the last quarter. How are you doing? How are you performing? This really is only intended for you. Jesse is not looking closely at this dashboard. I'm not either. It's really just more helpful for you if you're somebody who likes to benchmark. If you head to events tab here, you're going to see all your upcoming events. You can see your events that are in draft, your completed events as well, canceled events. They'll all be listed here. You can easily duplicate an event from here. So, this Flourish and Green coffee co-working day, if I'm doing it weekly, I'll want to come back here and probably just duplicate it. Use my same description as before, change the date, change some details. Emails, any emails that are going out, this is similar to the view you have currently. They're listed here. If you're wanting to create a newsletter or a one-off email to send out to your members, you'll do that right here. So on the left, emails, top right, new email. Our friend is back, AI Copilot. I love this. So I want to send out an end of year newsletter thanking everyone for their participation and wishing a great new year. Something like that. Short, sweet, but just, a nice touch point with my chapter members. So let's see what it comes up with. Cute. Oh, it even got fancy with some formatting. So I love this very much. This looks so wonderful. You can choose your audience here, same audiences that you had in Legacy Bevy. A newsletter like this would go to my chapter members. if I'm wanting to reach out maybe to folks who registered but didn't check in for an event, or I'm choosing any audience that has to do with an event, you see now an event selector comes up, right? So then I could say for the people who did not actually end up showing up for the coffee, maybe I want to send them that AI summary of what happened, or whatever it may be. Member management here is same as before, and then your settings, same as before. You'll find it down here. This is where remember, I encourage you to check out your description. All right, but let's head back to home. And actually, here's a good example. This is what I was telling you at the top of the training. In your home, once you do have an upcoming event, you see the difference, right? And this is really important to note. So anything that looks more like this, says AI suggested, has this thicker, for some, colorful border, that's a suggestion. It's not a real event that's coming up. Your upcoming events are going to look like this. They'll have your event thumbnail, either the one Jesse created or whatever you loaded in. It has a different frame, no AI suggestion, and it has the date here. You can click on it to go ahead and manage that event. All right, I've talked a lot. I'll hang on this page for a moment, popping over to the Q&A. So if anyone has questions in mind that you haven't already submitted, go ahead and navigate to Q&A at the bottom and pop them in. I think Ramita may have gone first. So question for later, when co-hosting with other chapters, is there a way for the event to display all 3 locations instead of just the one that published that event? Currently, no. No. What does end up happening, of course, is, if Geneva, that's not a good example. If Salt Lake City is hosting an event and Denver is co-hosting or collaborating on it, if I'm a chapter member for Denver, I'm going to see it in Denver. If there's reference to Salt Lake City in the event, I'll see that. Currently, though, we do not have some sort of automation that indicates to the community members or the chapter members which other chapters are co-hosting. This is a good recommendation. If this is something you're interested in, go ahead and pop this question over to Jessie so she can submit it as a product request to Bevy. Or honestly, for everybody, that's something you can do yourselves. And this is good to call out. In your dashboard at the bottom right, a lot of you are probably familiar with this, but there's this blue circle with a question mark in it. If you hit this, a couple things. You can see our product updates. These usually come from our CEO, where he's calling out his favorite, new things we've released in the product in the last month or two. What's new? This is all new features. It's a more just standardized documentation list. And then contact support is the big one I wanted to show y'all. This is the quick, easy way to either get to our help center so you can read documentation on co-hosting or whatever it may be, create a support ticket, or see your tickets that you've submitted in the past. When you're creating a ticket, I strongly encourage y'all to use this. I have the pleasure of leading our support team in addition to our customer success team. And I see the coverage. We have worldwide coverage of incredible support engineers and agents. You'll have a different view from this. I thought I was going to show you your form. I forgot I'm logged in. But we have worldwide coverage on the support tickets. They're usually doing a first response within an hour or two at the latest. Some engineers are on support, so they have really deep technical knowledge. And what I really wanted to share, so if you have questions, you have a need, create a ticket, but also if you ever have ideas for the product. So like Ramita put in here, maybe it's a good idea to automatically, list out, tell me who else is collaborating or co-hosting on this. That's a good product request. Create a ticket, tell them your idea. Product will let you know, if we end up developing on it and putting it into Bevy, they'll go ahead and follow up with you and let you know, which is really exciting as well. All right, back to the questions. Let me sort this by new so it can be fair to folks. Okay, so I'm going to indicate Ramita. We went ahead and answered that live, so I'm going to indicate that there. Okay, I'm just going from the top for me. Anne-Marie, one of my pain points is that the availability of RSVP is not defaulted to as soon as I publish. Hold on, let me noodle on that for a second. The availability of RSVP is not defaulted to as soon as I publish. Do you mean... Oh, perfect. I was going to say, if you want to raise your hand and explain, go ahead and do it. I'm going to bring her on stage. Hey, Anne-Marie. Let me come in here so we can look at what I think you're talking about. But if you want to come off mute, you are now able to then go ahead.
Sitting over here talking to myself, thinking I'm talking out loud.
Are you talking about over here?
Yeah. So when you create the RSVP, I always get tripped up because if I go to publish the event, but I haven't set the availability of the thing, the RSVP won't show up.
That is not expected behavior at all.
Okay.
And the default definitely is that 9 times out of 10, you don't need to touch this. And when you publish the event, the RSVP button is there and it starts collecting registrations. So
should you see it when you preview the event before you publish it? Or is that maybe the piece that's being funky?
You should still see an RSVP button. If you don't, like the next time you create an event, or even if you do a test event, test this out later, and you see that, grab a screenshot and send it to me and Jesse, and I'll send it on to engineering. We don't have any bug reports of that. But yeah, to confirm like what you should be seeing to kind of validate for you, it's exactly the functionality you're asking for. You shouldn't need to open advanced settings, to be honest, for like a basic event. Set this, save. When you publish, the RSVP button
should always be there.
Should always be there.
Cool.
For some folks, it'll say log in to RSVP, right? But yeah, it should be right there. I will share in Bevy 6 months ago, this looked different. It wasn't all through just like a button right here. Now we're making everything go through a button in the same spot because that's a repeatable routine is best practice for people. There used to be a big registration bar here, but yeah, this button should be there. If it's not, please let us know.
Okay.
Yeah, great question.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's see here. Anne-Marie, we chatted, we answered live. I will free you up from the terror of wondering if you're potentially going to come off mute or back off camera by taking away presenter mode. All right, I'm a new chapter lead and so new to Bevy as well. Welcome, I'm really happy you're here. Does this virtual platform also allow more of a Zoom room vibe than a webinar? Yes, you probably asked that before I went over that, I understand, but just to repeat for anyone who may have missed it, on the bottom, Bevy Virtual, if you click interactive mode, then yes, that would be a Zoom room vibe, basically. So, and you just saw me bring Anne-Marie up, so that would be the case for everybody, would be in the same UI that Anne-Marie was. You could still have your video off and be muted, or you could have video on like a Zoom room. We've all been there. So interactive mode is what you're looking for. And honestly, that's my preference. Even for today, I probably would have wanted that. Jesse made it a little more webinar style, which I appreciate. But I really like this. And for most events, I do encourage you guys to do interactive mode if you're comfortable with it. Great for community building. All right. LaShonda, did you say no AI suggestion? Because I don't see AI capabilities. I have a question. If anyone wants to confirm in the chat for me, you don't have to do it immediately, but if anyone actually is following along in Bevy, can y'all let me know if you have this switcher up here? I thought we released it to you, but sometimes the engineering team doesn't do it until we do this training. Are you guys able to switch to the new dashboard right now and play around or not? Someone tell me in the chat at some point, and then we'll come back to LaShonda's question. All right, Q&A. Let's see what else is coming in. Okay, we answered those. Talia, when we hit share on LinkedIn button, the visual that is reflected on LinkedIn is usually so basic, yeah, I agree, that we always need to manually create a poster in LinkedIn format. For me, this is a huge chilling effect. Oh yeah, because then you're like, oh my gosh, now I have to create a poster. It's a lot of pressure. Anything happening for making this easier? Not on the Bevy side, but there's actually a good reason for this. And again, if you want to, you don't need to add anything else to it. If you just want to copy and paste this into an email to Jessie, say Morgan said to send this to you, she'll know what to do with it. When she and I next meet, we'll talk about this. What Bevy does, you don't see it in this view, but Jessie has the ability to load in one default visual asset or image or poster that is the default or fallback, much like these, whenever y'all share the event on LinkedIn. She has to load something in that is going to work for all the events y'all host globally. So that's what she's kind of put in there. I can talk with her about how on her end or from the admin side, we can maybe iterate on this a little bit, make this a little bit more interesting so you're not just always using the basic one. That's kind of what they opted into. but we can explore getting more creative with that. That is something that would happen on the Jessie side. So you do not have something in the UI here when you're hitting share on LinkedIn. Like you see here, you can do your chapter page or your event page banner and your event page thumbnail. You don't have like a LinkedIn poster option right here, right? But I'll talk with Jessie about if we can make that dynamic so it always pulls in your chapter, your event thumbnail, or if maybe she wants to have some different options on Canva and you guys load them in a different way. We'll chat. It's a really good suggestion. I appreciate it. For today, I don't have a suggestion for you, but I'll talk with her and see what we can do. Okay, let me go back to the chat because I had asked y'all. Y'all don't have it. Okay, cool. Yeah, so reaffirming for you, LaShonda, you're not the only one missing it. And I'm sorry, guys. I thought they were going to load it in last night, but sometimes they don't. They often don't want to do that because they don't want to startle you all and have you guys see something without having been told what it is or trained on it. So I expect that it's going to drop in by the end of the day here in the US. So many of you will wake up to it tomorrow, which will be really fun. All right, answer live. Ramita, another question. For registrations, are chapter leads still able to check in participants manually if need be, like for in-person events? Yes, you absolutely can. Ramita's asking about, let me think here what we can go look at. I want to show you guys because I know we have a couple new folks. Barcelona, if you're here, I'm putting you on blast and I'm sure you're hosting a wonderful upcoming event. Let's go take a quick peek. Okay, here's the event. This is what a real event is gonna look like. Don't worry, I'm not gonna touch or save or change anything. You could see your people, so your speakers right here, which I think is a really nice UI. And then if you go here to registrations, you see the registrants here. You all may not have the same view. I think we redact emails for you all by culture and policy, but you still have the checkbox right here to manually check people in if you need to. Absolutely. And here with co-hosting, you'll see, if this event is being co-hosted, this is somebody from the Paris chapter who registered for the Barcelona event. So you do see which chapter they're coming from right here, which is really nice. When exactly can we start using the new version? Yes, that's what so you asked this before I found out, Natalia. We're going to release it to y'all within the next 24 hours. And then definitely please start using the new version. And look, I'll be the first to admit, I am a creature of habit and I'm afraid of change. Just going to be transparent and acknowledge that. And even being part of the team and validating development of this over the past year, when I actually started using it, I would always feel very panicked because we get used to where things are in something we've been using for a long time. So those of you who've been with us for a while, you know where your buttons are in Legacy Bevy. And it's a clunky, long experience, but it's your clunky, long experience. It's our clunky, long experience. It takes a while to get used to where new things are and what you need to do. But I would encourage you, even though you can just go back to the Legacy dashboard as much as possible, try to do all of your chapter lead work in the new one now. Start getting comfortable with it well before we deprecate the old one. And I promise within just a couple times of using it, this is a really nice dashboard. They did taking my Bevy hat off, I'm also an organizer for a group, and they did a really great job. And I heavily prefer being in this space now. So, put yourself a little outside your comfort zone. Once you have this switcher, encourage yourself to switch to the new dashboard. Okay, let's see if we have any questions. Oh, Ramita, no. So you won't be able to see full participant emails now. I see that because I'm an admin. Because Bevy is GDPR compliant, which are global privacy laws. They are very important, especially in EMEA, worldwide, but EMEA has the strictest. One part of GDPR compliance is that we really minimize the number of people who can see PII, personally identifiable information, like full names or email addresses. So they are redacted in your view. I see them in mine. If you do ever need a list for something, please reach out to Jessie. She also has the same view I do. So if there is an important use case or a good use case, GDPR privacy laws allow for that. You would just need to manually ask Jessie or somebody and explain why you need it. She can absolutely easily get that for you. All right. Let's see if we have any others. We're looking good in the Q&A. I'm going to peek at the chat really quick. Rock and roll. Okay, y'all, if there are any last questions, please feel welcome to submit them now. Otherwise, I'm happy to give you all time back. And I just want to thank you for being here. participating. It is really validating when I'm here talking for 40 minutes to see that you all are enjoying what we're releasing here and are actively engaged. I really appreciate it. You could be doing a lot of things. This is a volunteer role for y'all, and you're doing some really incredible work. We love seeing the events you all host for this community and how you guys have grown this community. Really cool stuff. And I thank you guys for coming and participating. I see we may have gotten one more question. It's a thank you. You're very welcome, Paula. You all are welcome. So you'll see this option, like I said, within 24 hours. It may be much sooner, so keep an eye out for it. Jesse's going to have the recordings of these. I'm guessing she's going to want to post them in your resource library. I forget what we call it, some other spaces. So you'll see that soon. And then, like I said, we're all available here. I see the support tickets that come in for y'all as well. So you're always welcome to email me, but honestly, the fastest way to get in touch with somebody, because again, it has eyes on it all the time, contact support right here, submit a help ticket. I promise it goes to a person right away. Usually that person is me. So this is a quick, easy way to get in touch with us as well. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing. Thank you all for joining today. Give you a little bit of time back. To those who are celebrating any holidays at the end of the year, enjoy. For the rest of you, I hope you get some time off, sort of time in the new year. Thanks, everybody.